Hello, and welcome to the series Kai Women Around the World, a show where we interview our Kai community to see how they organize their lives. Our Kai microphone traveled all over the world to get all the ins and outs about their daily routines. Are you traveling with us? Hello everyone, and welcome to this fourth episode of our series Kai Women Around the World. We've sent our mic to Japan to interview Mayu Yoshida.
Mayu used to be a news correspondent and anchor and a reporter for Thomson Reuters and Reuters news agency in Japan, until she decided to become a freelance reporter. She's one of the co-founders of Women in Journalism in Japan, with a mission to spread diversity in newsrooms across the country.
And besides all of that, she's also a mom, and she just gave birth to her third child. Welcome, Mayu.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here with us. It's, to give a little bit of context, a very big time difference. We started to record this episode very early in the morning to be able to meet you and to be able to do this.
I know, our timings matched. Thank you so much for adjusting.
That's fine. We will have an extra coffee this morning.
To start things off, Mayu, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Hello, my name is Mayu Yoshida. I'm a founder of Women in Journalism Japan, or WJJ we call it. It is a professional network for journalists, both female and male, and all of those who work in media. And our mission is to increase diversity and inclusion in Japanese newsrooms because gender inequality remains a very serious issue in Japan. Women in Japan are less likely to be hired as full-time staffs, and on average, we earn about nearly 44% less than men. And these dynamics play out in Japanese media as well, where women account for just 20% of staffs at major broadcasters and newspapers, and almost none of women are at managerial posts at such a big media organizations, and we want to change that. On a more personal level, as you just mentioned, my career has consisted of over a decade in journalism. Until early 2022, I was the anchor, senior producer, and reporter at Reuters News based in Japan, where I oversaw all the beat: politics, business, financial, anything like cultural, natural disasters, as the TV correspondent in Tokyo. And before working for Reuters, I was the business news reporter for NHK World, which is a English news service of Japan's public broadcaster. And before that, I was a text reporter at Japan's largest news agency. So my professional career has focused on journalism in Japan. The past few years, I've been very busy juggling 24/7 jobs, which is parenting and journalism. So I decided to take a career break and focus more on my kids from this year. And they are 4, 2, and just born in May. So my life has changed completely this year in 2022.
We can imagine.
That must be a big switch for you. How is it going so far? You're enjoying it?
I don't know if I can say that I'm enjoying it, but I'm alive, which explains it all, right?
Very alive here with us on the screen, Mayu.
We have this podcast about Kai women and how they organize their daily lives. Can you tell us a bit how a regular day looks like in your life, Mayu?
Sure. So when I was a TV journalist, it was quite hectic. I would wake up and then cook breakfast, get the toddlers ready for daycare. After I drive them there, I would come back to cook dinner in the morning before I go to the office. And during my day, I would do interviews, write scripts, do video editing, and so on. And I always had this live on-air hit at 5:45. So right after I finished that, I would hop on to my car and then drive to the daycare, pick up the kids by 6:30, which was the deadline. And after I put the kids to sleep, I would check emails, do all the work all the work done. But now basically I drop off the kids, then it's me time until the pickup time. So I would spend more time with the baby, and then sometimes I would head to daycares after school. So I have more time to hang out with the kids now.
Okay. Maybe even like both, like before you had your third child and right now, are those routines similar to people around you? Do people often take breaks to be with their family, or how does it work in Japan?
Right. So it's a yes and no answer for me. My previous life might have been quite different from all the norm in Japan. About half of women in Japan leave their jobs after giving birth to their first child. So raising two kids and then also working a full-time job was quite off the norm, maybe. But my current life is more of a stay-at-home mom. So I have a lot of friends who are full-time mommies now.
Okay, that's nice. We can find support with each other as well.
That's right.
Okay, and so before women give birth and tend to stay at home, what does a regular day look like in Japan? Do you tend to wake up early or not at all?
Yes, I think a lot of parents would wake up early because having no help, like having no external help, is usually the average thing to do in Japan. And I would say handling all the daily routines without any help from like housekeepers are still the norm here. And it's mostly the women or the moms who would do most of the household chores and parenting. But before I left my job, I thought that would be more of a negative thing. And it still is for many women who are like exhausted from, juggling a lot of things at once. But I've noticed that some women, including myself, chose to focus more on the motherhood part.
And in the time that you were working the long hours, how did you balance your life then with your family and your work? Were there specific things you did to keep everything balanced, or?
Right. So I didn't have a lot of difficulty in finding a balance because I loved my job and also being a mom. And if you juggle a few things at the same time, you can have it all. And also be a super mom. For example, I would like do video editing and also cook, or bring my kid to the TV studio, having watched Netflix while I was going on air and do all this kind of stuff. But as I did that, I noticed that this isn't what I really wanted anymore. So my priorities have changed.
Yeah, and is the choice you made of not taking external help, was it on purpose? Did you really not want it, or is it something that people don't really do in Japan?
So it's something that people don't really do in Japan, but it was really hard. So after doing that for like 6 months, I was like, I can't do this anymore. So now, like, my family do have external help, and it really helped me juggle more, like focus more on the kids, and then focus more on my job. While they helped me clean the house and so on.
So it's a choice you made now when you took more time for the family, that you also made a choice to take external help.
Yes, it was both my choice.
Okay, perfect. It's interesting to see how you made that choice in the moment of your life when you had more time. Actually, I think that's the moment where you realize that that time is so much worth that you bring in the external help. No.
Right. And it was very fun to, juggle everything, I loved my job as a journalist and also a mom, but, despite loving my job, I knew that I was ready for the next step. So that's why I decided to take a break from my other job, which is in journalism.
Yeah.
Okay, and now you're still like working on to get more diversity into the newsroom. That's something you still do, right?
Yes, yes. At WJJ Women in Journalism Japan, we do hold on-air webinars, on-air seminars once a month, and there I help, bring in all the professional knowledge and also encourage a lot of women, not only women, but male journalists as well, who are very keen on increasing diversity in Japanese newsrooms as well.
Okay, so that is something you still combine with motherhood then?
Yes, and it's definitely less time consuming than a full-time journalist. So
Yeah.
it's, very, I think it's very, I think it's very balanced. My life is very balanced right now because the work at WJJ is something that's, that's what I've been doing. And that's an area that I would love to help out as well.
Okay.
Okay, so now that you took more time for yourself, for your family, and everything is more balanced, do you use any tools or applications that help you organize your life?
Right. Well, the first thing I did after I quit my job was to hire a professional organizer. She
Ooh.
helped me get rid of all the unnecessary stuff and then reorganize the stuff to put it back to the most appropriate place. So, hiring a professional organizer was something that was one of the best decisions that I've made this year.
Oh, wow, that's so impressive.
Decluttering. It makes you feel light,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That's so nice. We really want to do that as well one day. But in Belgium, it's not so common to use it. It's
No,
starting to get well known, but for now, it's not very common.
no,
Well, I
not
mean, like with
yet.
the Konmari Method, which was a big
Konmari.
hit on Netflix. The Konmari Method of decluttering as well. I think that area has been gaining more spotlight. But hiring a professional, I haven't really heard of any friend who did it, but I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
saw a documentary as well about that you just mentioned. It's really
Yes.
cool. They say like you have to put everything in boxes and pretend that you're going to move, and then see which boxes that you use in the 3 weeks that are following,
Okay.
and that's the only stuff you actually need in your
Okay.
house, and everything else that's in the boxes you can throw them
Yes.
away or bring them
Like
somewhere
you've
else.
noticed, like having a help from a professional organizer helped me realize that I have like so much unnecessary stuff.
Yeah, I think almost everyone has
Yeah.
that. Certainly, if you have kids, they
Yeah,
grow out
yeah.
of
Like
things so
their broken
fast, and then
toys and all this stuff
yeah.
that's been unused.
Um, Indeed, I can imagine. Speaking of decluttering, for us, it feels like Japan is a very organized country. And we also, since we're talking to different women around the world from all different corners of the world, we always ask them what is very typical for their culture. So, what do you think is very typical for Japan?
Yes, I would say that Japan is a very organized country. A lot of um like everyone would throw, like there will be no trash on the street. So in that sense, I would say that Japan is a very organized country. If you're talking about like the people in Japan, like for me, I'm not the most organized person. So for that aspect, I don't know, but
Besides from being a well-structured country, are there other things that are typical for Japan according to you?
maybe long working hours. There was this culture called nominication. Nomi means go out drinking. Like, so after the business hours, you would go to have drinks with your bosses and so on. And that would be considered as part of your job. And that just made the work-life balance much worse and much difficult for women, especially mothers, to juggle jobs and parenting and have a life. But that has changed quite a bit in the past few years under under the former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's plan to, have more quality of life. Unfortunately, he was shot last month, but he did help push Japanese companies to have their employees work less hours.
Oh, okay.
So I'm curious, what does a typical working day look like in Japan? When do you start? When do you end? When you start drinking and when do you end drinking? What is how does it go?
So when I first became a journalist, I would like come into the office first thing in the morning, like I don't know, 7, and then work until 10 p.m. And then I would go out drinking with the bosses after midnight, and then do that during the weekdays. So it was quite hectic.
Every day.
So from 7 p.m. until 2 o'clock in the...
Yes, but now I think Japanese companies will be they won't get suspended, but they would like the government has keeping an eye on like companies that still do that. So a lot of companies stopped it, and now I think a lot of people just leave their office around 6 p.m. or 5 p.m., which is way better.
That is a big difference comparing to 2 a.m. in the morning. I went to Japan a couple of years ago, and what struck me, I don't know if it's still relevant or not, but what struck me is that there was a lot of advertising campaigns around getting married, being proposed to, wedding dresses, wedding rings, but also having families. And that's something that stood out and that struck me. Is it still the case? And is it because of the long work days that Japan had an issue with families or people creating families?
So that's a very good question. A lot of young people in Japan, there are data that says that they don't like people in their 20s or 30s, they don't necessarily want to get married early at this stage because they can't find a meaning to it. And I'm sure that it's not just a Japan issue, but also something more of a global trend. But in Japan, maybe like having that kind of like, difficult, having a difficult balance for a lot of women, like the long working hours, although it has improved significantly, it still is a very hard country for women to be juggling full-time jobs. So maybe that part have disencouraged a lot of people to get married and have kids because it's also expensive as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I can imagine if you, not right now because it has improved, but I can imagine if you go out until 2 a.m. in the morning and you have to wake up again at 6, 7 to get there on time. You're very tired. I can imagine the weekends you just want to like stay in bed and don't want to go out and meet people. I can imagine it has a huge impact.
Yes, it has. Yes, definitely.
Like, I'm really wondering how people can do it. I go to bed by 10 and I wake up at 6, and at 6 o'clock I'm like, oh no, already has to wake up. So very interesting to also see how other countries work, because we in Belgium, everyone like starts at 9 and then most of the people just stop working at 5 o'clock.
That's amazing. But I think also the pandemic aspect helped Japanese companies to encourage more of online working, so that at least for me has helped a lot of parents to, balance jobs, like professional jobs and also parenting.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Okay, Mayu. And if it comes to giving other busy women around the world some advice and tips and tricks, what would you say to those women?
It would be to be flexible, do what you love, and also to know when to stop being a superwoman.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. And how does it work? When do you know how to stop being a superwoman, or when it's time to stop being a superwoman?
I think for me, I decided to like focus so much, dedicate and prioritize so much on my work. And I was so happy with it. And then there's this aha moment when you realize that, hey, maybe you've done enough of this. And that aha moment for me was during the Tokyo Olympics. When I was covering the Tokyo Olympics, I was working nonstop for, more than a month. I didn't even see my second child, although we lived in the same room, because I would, come back home after he went to sleep, and I would wake up and leave the house before he woke up. So I was working relentlessly, and there was this aha moment at the closing ceremony. I was inside the stadium, and I had all the work done. I was relieved, and I was watching the closing ceremony. And, you just realize, hey, maybe it's time to stop, trying to stop being a superwoman and just, be there for the kids. And I was like, yep, I've did this part enough. Now I'm ready to move on. So maybe do a lot of dedicate your time and do what you love. Then maybe the time will come.
Okay, I think that's a really good piece of advice for all those busy women.
Yeah, agreed. I think we focus much more on doing everything. Certainly, I don't know how it is in Japan, but in Europe, certainly in Belgium, we try to have a job, have children, work out, have friends, be a good husband or wife, do all those things together, and sometimes it can be really overwhelming, I think. So I think it's good advice that we don't have to be superwomen all the time.
Right. And what matters at the end of the day is the happiness for the family. So if, your partner is happy, your kids is happy, and yourself is happy, then it's fine. And you don't have to, just have it all.
Perfect.
That's perfect.
We would really, really like to thank you for this amazing talk, Mayu. Thank you for making time for us, for scheduling the agendas next to each other. It was
not easy.
It was not easy, but we're very, very glad to have had this amazing talk with you.
And we wish you lots of luck with your beautiful family and your newborn as well.
Thank you. Vice versa as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe
Bye.
we can see each other later. Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.